Leviticus chapter 9. On the 8th day Moses summoned Aaron and his sons and the elders of Israel. He said to Aaron, "Take a calf to offer a sacrifice for sin, and a ram for a burnt offering, both without blemish, and bring them before Yahweh. Then say to the Israelites, Take a goat to be offered as a sacrifice for sin, a calf and a lamb 1 year old both without blemish, for a burnt offering, a bull and a ram for communion sacrifices to be slaughtered before Yahweh, and a cereal offering mixed with oil. For Yahweh will appear to you today." Single quote. They brought what Moses had ordered in front of the tent of meeting, then the whole community approached and stood before Yahweh. Moses then said, "This is what Yahweh has ordered you to do, so that his glory may be visible to you." Moses then addressed Aaron, "Go to the altar and offer your sacrifice for sin and your burnt offering, and so perform the rite of expiation for yourself and your family. Then present the people's offering and perform the rite of expiation for them, as Yahweh has ordered." Aaron went to the altar and slaughtered the calf as a sacrifice for his own sin. Aaron's sons then presented the blood to him. He dipped his finger in it and put some on the horns of the altar, and then poured the rest of the blood at the foot of the altar. The fat of the sacrifice for sin and the kidneys and the mass of fat over the liver he burned on the altar, as Yahweh had ordered Moses, and the meat and the skin he burned outside the camp. He then slaughtered the burnt offering. Aaron's sons then handed him the blood, which he poured all around the altar. They then handed him the quartered victim and the head, and he burned these on the altar. He then washed the entrails and shins and burned them with the burnt offering on the altar. He then presented the people's offering. He took the goat for the people's sacrifice for sin, slaughtered it, and made a sacrifice for sin with it in the same way as with the first. He then had the burnt offering brought forward and proceeded according to the ritual. He then had the cereal offering brought forward, took a handful of it and burned it on the altar in addition to the morning burnt offering. Then he slaughtered the bull and the ram as a communion sacrifice for the people. Aaron's sons handed him the blood and he poured it all around the altar. The fat of the bull and the ram, the tail, the covering fat, the kidneys, the mass of fat over the liver, he placed on the ribs and then burned on the altar. With the ribs and the right thigh Aaron made the gesture of offering as Yahweh had ordered Moses. Aaron then raised his hands towards the people and blessed them. Having thus performed the sacrifice for sin, the burnt offering and the communion sacrifice, he came down and entered the tent of meeting with Moses. Then they came out together to bless the people, and the glory of Yahweh appeared to the entire people. A flame leapt out from Yahweh's presence and consumed the burnt offering and fat on the altar. At this sight the entire people shouted for joy and fell on their faces.